Have you ever gotten stuck in your own head in a loop of thoughts and you can't get out of it? And those thoughts are the same thoughts you had the day before. And those thoughts lead to the same emotions, and those emotions lead to the same reactions. And if you're like me and you find yourself at the end of the day, after having lived the same day over and over again, because all of these thoughts and emotions and reactions are the same, you find yourself in a situation at the end of the day that you don't prefer to be in, it can feel really hopeless. Like I really, really got down on myself. I did not like myself at all. But I wasn't being fair to myself. I didn't realize it. But I was trying to change an output or an outcome without changing the process. Like I was expecting, there's a whole quote about the definition of insanity, expecting a different outcome when you haven't changed anything. So the good news is you can. you can change the process. Once you realize that your thoughts are not you. That I've mentioned before, we have a body, we have a mind, but we are a soul. Our soul is who we really are. Our soul is the one that right about now is going, can we not do this anymore, please? Our mind is the one that's trying to hang on and go, no, we're going to keep doing this because this is keeping us from having to look at all the shit that we don't want to look at. Our body probably at this point is crying out to, really backing up the soul. Like, yeah, let's not do this anymore. But the first step to changing this is you have to, realize that you are not your thoughts and that you observe your thoughts. You don't judge them, remember. You observe them. Then you can start to change them. But in order to change them, we need to give our mind something new to work with. One of the easiest ways that you can do this is, again, observe. How are you spending your time? What are you taking in mentally to nourish your brain? We talk about nourishing our mind, our body, with good food and water and lots of rest, but we're feeding our minds junk food. We're playing games on the phone all night, looking at Facebook, whatever it is, doom scrolling, fighting with people on the internet, whatever. Like I said, no judging, observe. But I do want you to realize that that's not doing you any good. It's not helping change your thought patterns if we're not giving ourselves something new to think. One of the first books I read it's called Alcohol Lied to Me by Craig Beck. Really changes the way that you think about alcohol and drinking. He has a website. I highly recommend you go look him up. Eckhart Tolle wrote a book, Tolle, wrote a book called The Power of Now, is one of his books. I read that book, changed the way I thought about everything. That's when I first realized it wasn't my thoughts. If you're more into like the science of things, Dr. Joe Dispenza, wrote a book called, one of them is called Becoming Supernatural. He has an amazing healing story, and he's really dug into the how of how we can connect with our mind and really our mind and our heart, and really open up our body to changing that way. So those are just 3 examples, and of course, for anything I know a little bit about a lot of stuff. For every Power of Now, there's 100 other books like it. For every other, for every Joe Dispenza, there's 100 guys like him. Find something that speaks to you. There are podcasts, of course. There are a ton of people all over social media talking about sobriety now. We're not alone. We're not the only ones dealing with this. You can look up, take up a new hobby or look at an old hobby. Get back into it. Find something that gives your mind something else to grab onto. And when it comes time and you can recognize the fact that you're in an old thought pattern that's not serving you anymore. Instead of feeling despair, you can stop and go, oh, this might not be true. Let me stop and at least pause before you react to anything. And see if you can't change out that thought for something that, you know, you've recently learned. Because now we have new ways to think about things. I guarantee you, the first time that you stop and go, oh, that's how I always used to think about it, but really here's what's really going down. It's amazing. It really gives you hope that you're like, oh, maybe I can change things. So instead of letting your wheels spin in your mind, like, give them some traction, give them something to grab onto so they can get moving in the right direction, instead of just leading you down the same path day after day after day. And it will really make a huge difference in your life, I promise you. But if you need any information, or if you want to talk about it, let me know. I'm here. You know, like I said, you have a friend that's been there. So, and let me know how it works out for you. I'm sending you love.